1971 was a big year for soul music. Radios everywhere played these songs. Families danced to them in living rooms. Some hit #1. Some sold millions of copies. But you probably think you know them all. You don't.
Both kids are good and bound.
Some of these songs faded fast. Some singers never got paid what they earned. Behind every hit was a real rise and a real fall. Today we count down the 10 best-selling R&B songs of 1971. The music, the truth, the story behind the charts. Stay to the end. #1 may surprise you. Number 10, Wilson Pickett, Don't Knock My Love. Picture a hot summer night in 1971. A car radio is turned all the way up. Windows are down. Somebody's arm is hanging out the side of the car.
Don't be afraid.
This song comes on and everybody in the car starts singing along. Even the people who cannot sing. That was the feeling of Don't Knock My Love. This song came out on Atlantic Records.
To let me know there's other places, baby.
Wilson Pickett helped write it and helped produce it too, alongside Brad Shapiro. The song has a strong horn section and a driving beat that never lets up. It talks about real love, love that should not be doubted or mocked by outsiders.
You don't like it. Don't knock it.
It shot straight to #1 on the R&B chart. It also cracked the Pop Top 20, which was no small thing for a soul record at that time.
Somebody else might wanna rock it.
Bands and DJs at dance clubs loved to spin this one all night long. You can still hear crowds shout back the title line like a call and response, even decades later.
Don't need it. Don't waste it. Somebody else now.
Here is something you may not know. Wilson Pickett was already a soul legend by 1971. He had years of hits behind him, going back to the mid-1960s. He was known as a hard, raw, powerful singer, one of the toughest voices in the whole genre. But the music world was changing fast around him. Funk was rising, sweet ballads were rising, younger singers were coming up behind him. So he pushed himself to keep his sound fresh for a brand new decade. He wanted to prove he still had it, even as the industry started looking toward new faces. And for one more moment, he did. So why do people forget this song today? By the mid-1970s, radio moved hard toward funk and disco sounds. Older soul singers like Pickett got less airplay as stations chased a younger crowd. His earlier hits from the 60s got remembered more than this one, because they came first. This song got buried under his own bigger, older classics, almost like it was competing with his own legacy. That is a shame, because in the summer of 1971, this record ruled the airwaves completely. If a song this big can fade from memory, what else did we forget? Let's keep going. Number 9. King Floyd, Groove Me.
You look so sweet and you're so doggone.
Now picture a small studio in Jackson, Mississippi. No big budget, no fancy record label behind it at first. Just a southern singer named King Floyd, laying down a groove with a small group of musicians who believed in the song more than the label did. Groove Me was recorded for a tiny label called Malaco Records. At first, nobody thought it was even the main song people would want. It was almost tossed aside, treated more like a leftover track than a hit.
Come a sweet taste in my mouth now.
But once it hit the radio, it exploded across the South, and then the whole country. It reached number 1 on the R&B chart. It also crossed over into the pop top 10, a huge deal for an unknown singer on a tiny label.
And I want you to be my spouse. So that
The song is simple on purpose. It just wants you to feel good and move your body. That is why it became a dance floor favorite in clubs from New Orleans to Chicago. Here is the powerful part of this story. This one song helped put Malaco Records on the map in a way nobody expected.
we can live happily now. In a
That small southern label went on to become one of the most important soul and gospel labels in music history, home to legends for decades after. One record from one unknown singer changed the future for dozens of other artists who would later record there. Without Groove Me, the whole shape of Southern soul might have looked different.
great big old roomy house, and I know you're gonna groove.
But King Floyd himself never had another hit this big again. He is remembered today as what people call a one-hit wonder, a phrase that never tells the full story.
Baby, oh yeah, now make me
His name faded even as his song kept getting played on oldie stations for years. Many singers from that era never got a second chance like the top stars did. The industry poured money and promotion into a small circle of names, and everyone else had to fight for scraps.
feel good inside. Come on and
Floyd gave the world one perfect record. Then the industry moved on without him, the way it did to so many talented Southern soul singers. That is the rise and fall of soul music. One moment you own the charts. The next moment, the industry forgets your name.
If this song just hits you in that quiet place, don't let this moment be a one-time thing. Subscribe to Demo. We're building a home for real R&B and soul. The kind that heals, the kind that tells the truth. Hit subscribe and come back whenever you need a song that understands you.
Every story you see here takes hours of digging, piecing together history, and bringing forgotten moments back to life. If you'd like to support that work, you can become a channel member. It's just the cost of a cup of coffee, but it helps us keep these stories alive, and for that, we're grateful.
Number 8. The Persuaders. Thin line between love and hate. This next song feels like a warning wrapped in a smooth melody. Thin line between love and hate tells the story of a man who cheats and lies to the woman who loves him. She warns him, again and again, that his behavior has a limit. He does not listen. He pushes too far. The song plays out like a short film in your ears, with a twist ending that still shocks first-time listeners. It is emotional. It is honest. It does not sugarcoat real relationships or pretend love is always simple. The Persuaders released this on Atco Records in 1971. It became their biggest hit, reaching number 1 on the R&B chart and crossing over into the pop top 20 as well. It is often called one of the greatest soul story songs ever made, studied for how well it builds tension from the very first line. Years later, the rock band The Pretenders covered this same song and had a hit with it all over again in the 1980s. That a rock band on the other side of the world wanted to cover a Southern soul story song shows how strong the songwriting truly was. Here is something many fans do not know. The Persuaders struggled to ever repeat this level of success. Group members changed over the years, which is common but still painful for the fans who loved the original lineup. Without a hit this powerful to follow it up, the group slowly faded from the spotlight through the rest of the decade. Today, casual fans often do not even know the group's name, even if they know the song by heart. This is a perfect example of a song outliving the artist's fame. The record became bigger than the group who made it. That is both an honor and a heartbreak, all at the same time. If you are enjoying this, smash that like button. It really helps this story reach more real music fans who care about the truth behind the hits. Number 7. The Chai Lights. Have you seen her? Songs do not need shouting or big drums to break your heart. This one starts with just a voice, talking softly, like a man thinking out loud on a park bench. It came from Brunswick Records, out of Chicago, a city with its own deep soul tradition. The song opens with a spoken part before the singing even begins, almost like a confession. It talks about lost love and heartbreak in the plainest way possible. No fancy words, just honest pain. It became one of the defining ballads of early 1970s soul, the kind of song people slow dance to at family parties. Years later, a whole new generation heard pieces of this song again without even knowing it. Rapper MC Hammer used part of the melody in one of his own songs in the early 1990s. That brought the Chai Lights back into the ears of younger listeners who never knew where the sound came from in the first place. It is a strange kind of second life. Famous again, but under a different name. Here is the sad part of this story. The Chai Lights were huge in the early 1970s, one of the top vocal groups in the entire country. Yet business troubles and lineup changes slowly pulled the group apart. Agreements over money and creative direction hurt their momentum more than any competitor ever could. By the later part of the decade, their spotlight had dimmed, and their name stopped showing up near the top of the charts. A group that once ruled the airwaves became a group people had to be reminded of. Real music history is full of stories like this. Not every fall comes from a scandal. Sometimes it just comes from time moving on, and nobody... Number 6. The Jackson 5. Never Can Say Goodbye. Now picture a young voice, full of feeling, almost too big for the body singing it. Never Can Say Goodbye was written by Clifton Davis. The Jackson 5 recorded it for Motown in 1971. A young Michael Jackson delivered the lead vocal with more emotional weight than most singers twice his age could manage. The song reached number 2 on the R&B chart and became a massive pop hit as well. It captured heartbreak in a way that felt shockingly mature for a group still marketed as a kids' act, with matching outfits and cheerful smiles. This song had a second life too, more than once. A few years later, singer Gloria Gaynor turned it into a disco anthem that filled entire dance floors. Then the British group the Communards had another hit with it in the 1980s, giving it a third completely different sound. 3 totally different decades, 3 different genres, one melody that refused to fade away. Here is the part of the story that gets forgotten. By 1971, the Jackson 5 were already under enormous pressure behind the scenes. Motown was carefully controlling their image, their sound, their schedules, and even how they answered questions in interviews. Michael was still a child, carrying the weight of a grown adult career on small shoulders. Long recording sessions, endless touring, and constant public attention left very little room for an ordinary childhood. The joy on stage hit a business machine working overtime behind the curtain. Real music history includes that pressure, not just the applause and the bright lights. We are counting down. Halfway there. Which song has hit you hardest so far? Comment below and let us know. Number 5. Honeycomb. Want ads. This next story is about 3 women who refuse to be overlooked in an industry built mostly around men. Honeycomb was a girl group signed to Hot Wax Records, a label built by the legendary songwriting and production team of Holland, Dozier, and Holland after they split from Motown. Want Ads is built around a clever idea. A woman literally puts an ad in the newspaper looking for a real man because her current one keeps letting her down. It is playful on the surface, but it also carries a strong message about self-respect and knowing your own worth. The song shot all the way to number 1 on both the R&B chart and the pop chart. For an independent, black-owned label like Hot Wax, that was a massive, history-making achievement. Fun fact: Honeycomb had 2 other songs reach number 1 on the R&B chart that same year, an incredible run for any group. That made them one of the most successful female groups of early 1971, rivaling far bigger names for a short stretch of time. For a short window, they were absolutely everywhere on the radio, at award shows, and on television performances. But independent labels in this era often struggled with money and distribution compared to giants like Motown. Hot Wax Records ran into serious financial trouble not long after these hits, tangled up in lawsuits and unpaid bills. Without a strong label behind them anymore, Honeycomb lost momentum fast, even though their talent never disappeared. The group broke up just a couple of years after this song hit number 1. 3 women who once ruled the charts were suddenly starting over from nothing, with very little to show for their success. That rise and fall happened in the blink of an eye, and it happened to a lot of great artists, whose labels simply could not keep up with their talent, no matter how many hit songs they made. Number 4. The Temptations. Just My Imagination. Running Away with Me.
Each day through my window, I watch you.
This song feels like a daydream set to music. Soft strings, a gentle voice, a quiet kind of longing that sneaks up on you. Just My Imagination was written by Norman Whitfield and Barrett Strong for Motown.
She passes by.
The Temptations had spent the prior few years deep in a harder, funkier, more psychedelic soul sound, full of long instrumental breaks and social commentary. This song was a return to something softer and more romantic, almost a step back in time on purpose.
I say to myself, you're such.
It reached number 1 on both the R&B chart and the pop chart. It remains one of the most loved ballads of the entire decade, still played at weddings and slow dances today. Here is the emotional twist behind this record. This was one of the last songs Eddie Kendricks sang lead on before he left the Temptations for good. He wanted to go solo. The group was already changing shape behind the scenes, with tension building over musical direction and money. So this beautiful, gentle love song was actually recorded during a quiet goodbye that most fans listening on the radio never even knew was happening. The sweetness in his voice carries a heavier weight once you understand that story.
It's truly a dream come true.
The Temptations kept going after Kendrick's left, and they still had more hits ahead of them in different eras. But something about the original lineup's chemistry, that specific blend of voices, was never quite the same again. Fans who love the group's classic sound often point right back to this song as the last true chapter of that original era. A perfect love song, recorded in the middle of a real-life goodbye. That is real music history hiding in plain sight. Number 3. Sly and the Family Stone. Family Affair. This next song sounds calm on the surface, but underneath, it is quietly telling on a band that was falling apart. Family Affair came from the album There's a Riot Going On Epic Records, an album many critics now call one of the most important and unsettling records of the decade. Sly Stone used one of the earliest drum machines on a major hit record, which was almost unheard of at the time, and gave the song its hazy, unusual groove. The lyrics talk about family, tension, and people staying loyal even when things get messy and complicated. The song became a massive #1 hit on both the R&B chart and the pop chart, closing out the entire year at the very top of the charts.
Grows up to be somebody that just loves to learn.
Here is the truth behind the smooth sound. By 1971, Sly and the Family Stone were dealing with real internal conflict. There were tensions within the band over creative control and direction.
Another child grows up to be.
There were struggles with the music industry and mounting pressure from a label expecting another feel-good hit like their earlier records. There were personal battles that were quietly affecting the group's stability and Sly's own health.
Somebody you just love to burn.
Sly reportedly recorded much of the album alone in his home studio, layering instruments and vocals by himself rather than with the full band in the room together.
Mom loves the both of them. You see,
A song about family togetherness was born out of a band that was slowly coming undone behind closed doors. That contrast is what makes this song so powerful, even 50 years later.
it's in the blood. Both kids.
It sounds peaceful, but it was made in the middle of real turmoil that most listeners could never hear. Sometimes the smoothest songs hide the hardest stories, and this one hides one of the hardest. Number 2. Gene Knight, Mr. Big Stuff.
The big stuff. Who do you think?
Now we reach a song with real swagger and a real heartbreak underneath it. Mr. Big Stuff was recorded for Stax Records and produced by Wardell Quizergi, a New Orleans arranger known for his sharp, punchy horn sections.
Think you are Mr. Big Stuff. You're never gonna get
The song is a confident, funky put-down aimed at a man who thinks he is too good for everybody else around him. It held the #1 spot on the R&B chart for 5 straight weeks, tying it for the longest run at the top that entire year.
my love. Now because you wear all those
It sold in huge numbers and became one of the defining sounds of Southern soul, blasting out of jukeboxes and porch radios across the country.
fancy clothes. Oh yeah. And have a big fine car. Oh yes you.
Here is a story that is not talked about enough. This song sat on the shelf, unreleased, for over a year before Stax finally decided to put it out. Nobody at the label realized how big it would become until it hit the radio and simply exploded overnight. Jean Knight suddenly went from an unknown singer to a national star almost instantly, with almost no warning at all. But like so many artists of this era, Jean Knight did not receive the financial reward that matched the song's massive success. Contract terms and common industry practices at the time often left artists with far less money than the labels made off their work. She never had another hit that came close to this one again, despite the song's lasting popularity. One incredible song, a short, blinding spotlight, then a quiet return to a much more ordinary life. That is the real cost behind so many classic soul records that people still love today. The song lives forever. The artist does not always get to enjoy the full reward of that success.
If this song just hit you in that quiet place, don't let this moment be a one-time thing. Subscribe to Demo. We're building a home for real R&B and soul. The kind that heals, the kind that tells the truth. Hit subscribe and come back whenever you need a song that understands you.
Every story you see here takes hours of digging, piecing together history, and bringing forgotten moments back to life. If you'd like to support that work, you can become a channel member. It's just the cost of a cup of coffee, but it helps us keep these stories alive, and for that, we're grateful.
Number 1. Marvin Gaye, What's Going On? We told you earlier that one song almost never got released at all. This is that song. What's Going On was inspired by a real event.
Too many of you crying.
Ronaldo Obi Benson of the Four Tops witnessed police violence against protesters in Berkeley, California, and could not shake what he saw afterward. He brought the idea to Marvin Gaye, hoping to turn that pain into something meaningful.
Brother, there's fun.
Gaye poured that feeling, along with his own thoughts about war, poverty, and injustice, into this one song. Now here comes the controversy we promised you earlier. Motown's head, Berry Gordy, reportedly hated the song when he first heard it.
Too many of you dying. You know.
Some people say he called it the worst record he had ever heard in his entire career. There are different versions of exactly what was said in that room, and accounts vary depending on who tells the story. But the outcome is well documented.
We've got to find a way to bring.
Motown did not want to release it at first, worried it was too political and too different from Gaye's usual romantic sound. Marvin Gaye refused to back down. He said he would not record anything else for the label until this song came out into the world.
Some loving here today.
That was a huge risk. Motown was one of the most powerful and controlling labels in the entire music industry at that time. An artist standing up to that kind of power was rare, and it was genuinely dangerous for a career.
Father, we don't need.
Eventually, Motown gave in and released the song. It shot straight to #1 on the R&B chart and stayed there for 5 weeks, one of the longest runs of the whole year. It became the title track of a full concept album that many critics still call one of the greatest albums ever made. The album tackled war, poverty, the environment, and pain inside black communities, all woven into one unified piece of music rather than a collection of separate singles. This controversy did something powerful for the song's legacy instead of hurting it.
Oh, it's not up for only love.
Instead of burying the record, the fight to release it made it feel even more important and more real once people finally heard it. It proved that soul and R&B music could speak on serious real-world issues and still top the charts at the same time. It changed what soul and R&B music was allowed to talk about from that point forward, opening the door for a whole generation of more socially conscious records. Marvin Gaye had to fight his own record label just to let the world hear the truth. And in the end, the truth won, and it is still being heard more than 50 years later.